Hi everyone, I'm Halim Gafoor from PropNext, and today we will be speaking with Mark and Angel, whom I recently had a consultation with, and they have also purchased their property. Let's speak with them and hear what they have got to say.
Hi everyone, my name is Angel, and we've worked with Halim for a good long part of our property journey. I would say at least for a good 5 years, would you say?
Correct, I think so. My name is Mark, and I'm happy we made the plunge with Halim.
We were renting for the first 6 years of our journey. Truth be told, when we first started working with Halim, we had no idea what we wanted. So we would look at the condos, we would look at the HDBs, we would look at the apartments. Halim was very patient. He took us to every different showing. He gave us the pros, the cons. He calculated the financial elements of things. He always assured us that the right thing would pop up for us and to take as much time as we needed.
Evidently, I'm not from here. I'm from Amsterdam originally, and the Singapore housing market was quite new to me. What I at least needed was quite a bit of education on what's it like to purchase, what types of properties are out there. And I actually really appreciated the time that Halim took to educate me on what it meant to move from a rental to our first marital home here in Singapore.
Through it all, Halim was very patient. He always gave us the space to think about different things logically. He always offered a different perspective in terms of things that we may not even be conscious about whilst making that decision. A big thing that I really appreciated about Halim was he was never pressuring us. He always offered a different perspective into things that we may even not be as conscious about whilst making such a big property decision. And he always did what was best for us, and he always kept our needs in mind, whichever property we were viewing or whichever decision we were leaning towards as well. When we started the property journey, it was a little bit difficult because we were not clear of our goals ourselves, because we were just not aware what was available out in the market. So partnering with someone who was very patient to take us through different options gave us a lot more clarity on what that goal looked like. As per every new buyer, you want to make sure you're buying something that's not going to result in you losing money, that's ideally going to give you a healthy profit, and that your family is going to be happy living there. Ultimately, we were very clear on that being our goal and finding something that every one of our family liked.
I think in addition to that, what I really appreciated was Halim leveling with us. And what I mean with that is sometimes we looked at a property and we thought, wow, this might be the one. And he was actually the first one to tell us, I don't think it is. And sometimes it was because of the structure of the property, sometimes it was because it was just not a good investment. The things that I just wasn't aware of, and I think we sometimes didn't have as much of a view on. He was very honest with us. We want an agent who has our interest at heart, and I think that's what we always felt with Halim. He was fighting our corner from the first moment until we actually put the signature on paper. Where we truly love the place that we live in today, it was not a straightforward journey. I think fair to say that we encountered some hiccups during the process. But the great thing was that day and night, and literally night, Halim was available for us to brainstorm, to collaborate, and to get the sale being pushed through. What I really appreciated about him during this process is where he also understands the seller side, someone ultimately selling their emotional property, right? Whereas we, of course, were keen to process and proceed as fast as possible. He was really able to find a balance between the two of them. And I think it's fair to say that thanks to that negotiation skill on his part is why we are here today. Even when we bought this property, the journey with Halim has actually only continued. And what I mean with that is, once you've got the keys, of course, you need to move in and you need to do all this great stuff, which is renovations or changes to the property itself, whatever it might be. And actually, his wide network of people has helped us along the way to make sure that we had the right people in the property to actually make sure it's now our dream place.
I think another thing is, especially with buying a property in today's market, it can be rather competitive, right? So having the right financial data, market data, having that insights and expertise that he brought along to the table, that has been very, very useful for us.
last but certainly not least is also the aftercare. So we're still in touch, very close contact. I would say a good 9 months after having purchased this place. What that means to us is that someone is really interested in maintaining the relationship. And as we look to upgrade or buy something else, we're pretty sure that we will tap into Halim again to help us with the next property as well, as part of his aftercare and ongoing relationships.
When you want to take that step forward to buy a property, list your property, there are so many property agents out there, and we often joke about this to say that, a lot of them are even willing to sell their grandmother, and you don't know whether it's their interest at heart or they truly have our interest at heart. And what I really appreciate about Halim was, as much as he has so much of expertise in property, we never saw him as a property agent or a salesperson. He was always very consultative with his approach. That's a key reason to why we sent all our friends to Halim. We would possibly never go to work with anyone else for any of our property needs, but I would 100% say, regardless of what kind of property you're looking for, I'm very confident that Halim's approach and his consultative approach would be able to help you.
Thank you so much for sticking around. If you are also looking for a property consultant for your next property journey, let's get in touch and explore the possibilities. Once again, I'm Halim Gafoor from PropNext.